This video is brought to you in partnership with the AA. For a great deal on AA car insurance, go to the AA.ie or call 01 674 0443. There's been more than 3 million Nissan Qashqai sold in Europe from a plant that, as the crow flies, is just a few hundred kilometres from here in Sunderland. So this is the brand new model, ground up, not a refresh, the latest generation of the Qashqai, and it has got a little bit more expensive. In the previous version, from mid to late 20s, you could get a brand new car. The entry level is now 30, and this version is actually 37. It's an SV Premium. It's got mild hybrid technology. There is an actual sort of electric-ish version coming, probably the end of this year, but more likely start of 2022. So if you're in the market for a new Qashqai, chances are you're looking at a whole range of other cars, such as maybe the Skoda Karoq, the 3008, maybe the Volkswagen Tiguan. I've reviewed them all on the channel, and if you wait till the end of the video, I'll put all the links to all those cars so you can just have a one-stop here and find out what should be your next crossover. And if you haven't hit subscribe yet, you might consider doing that as well to help support us on the channel. So let's take a look around the new Qashqai. I'm going to assume that you're interested in the boot, so let me check it out for you. One of the big bonus points in this version of the car is that the Parcel Shelf can actually fit under here if you need extra space in the boot. And also these can come out and be held up like this, and they divide things. You can remove them, obviously, give yourself more depth if you like. And they've actually included a spare tyre well below here. There's a couple of shopping things. There's a 12-volt charger and there's lights. But the lights throughout the entire cabin of the Qashqai are halogen. I don't understand either. Also, what are not LED are the indicators. So we do have these, well, will look great and lit up in LED red brightness, but the indicators are still halogen. For the first time ever, the Qashqai badge is across the back here. And the boot spoiler comes nicely far out, but the wiper is still down here, not up there. Like, for example, in the Hyundai Tucson, which I've also reviewed on the channel. And if you want to have a look at that video review, the link is up here. Rear parking sensors are on the car as standard, and this silver strip down here, you don't get that in all models. You've got to go for something like the SV Premium to get it. It does nicely break up the diffuser at the lower part of the car and just adds a little bit of class to the back of it. But overall, you would side by side not struggle to notice the difference, but you'd think it's quite subtle, because it is. This is where we have a massive selling point in the car. These rear doors, almost 90-degree angle. And if you want to get kids and all their stuff in here, there are very few cars in the market today, still, believe it or not, that will do that. Even if you don't have kids, that rear door situation just makes it even easier for an adult. Down here, there's USB-C and USB ports, giving you nice options. There's an armrest with some cup holders. Armrest is reasonably straight down as well, which definitely helps. More halogen bulbs going on. The glass roof doesn't really encroach in terms of overall headspace. There's still plenty of it, and leg space seems a little bit bigger compared to the previous Qashqai. A low enough transmission tunnel, and it's also wide, so it's like as if they've said, look, we do have to have one, but if you're a middle passenger, there's a decent enough platform for them to rest their feet. There's pockets at the back of the seats, and yeah, it's all pretty comfortable, nice visibility, and it doesn't really feel too claustrophobic, which if some passengers in the back don't really like travelling in cars, like kids getting car sick, maybe the extra space might just help. If it's not your first time with the Qashqai barbecue, let us know which model you've had, which trim spec, what colour, first generation, second generation, third generation. 2006, by the way, is when it first started. Now, in all models of this generation, blind spot is in the mirrors, and the tablet infotainment system is totally upgraded. However, it does something that might annoy you. So you can chuck your phone in here because there's wireless charging in the SV Premium version. You've got to tell that screen every single time, no, I don't want you to do. Yeah, I accept. But here, there is a big, massive glare off the screen, and sometimes it's nearly like looking in the mirror when you're driving. And if you're gorgeous, that's okay. But if you've got a, well, you know, it's a bit of a distraction. Apart from that, no previous generation Qashqai owner is going to jump into this and say, what the hell have they done with my car? It's just progress. So the screen looks better. It's not integrated into the dashboard anymore. It's sitting, floating up here, and it is quite large. Well, this is the largest version you can get. Gone are the needles if you spec them. So you'll get digital instruments here. Very bright, very colourful, like them. No glitches with any software at any point in using the car this week. The camera is really good, and in this version it has an overview as well, which is helpful if you're parking. For people worried about, is it a bit big for parking? No, and the fact that you have these screens will also help. The audio menu, very, very familiar, simple to use, pairing up Bluetooth. There's wireless CarPlay. Android, I'm sorry, you're still going to have to use a cable. And there's physical controls for the climate control, the demisters. Engine stop start has a physical button down here, and your USB ports, you still need to charge things, are down here. Again, USB-C and USB ports here. There's a D mode, which puts it into sport mode. I can say it makes a huge difference when you're driving. Litres per 100 kilometers, you're talking about 8 in this 1.3 petrol version of the car. So next year, Nissan will have, it's a battery powered version of the car, and it powers the wheels with the engine still doing some petrol action, and it's all kind of complicated, but it's a space that they're getting into. So not quite an electric Qashqai just yet, but it will run technically on electricity, if you follow me. Again, SV Premium, it's a leather across the dashboard here. This steering wheel is new, has been used in a Qashqai before. Physical buttons for loads of things. So if you like buttons, it is the crossover for you. The air vents down here, they do at times touch the driver's face. The positioning of them is a little bit here, if you get me. It's an automatic gearbox that you can get, but this is a 6-speed manual. Very good, very slick, very smooth, and I'll explain more about that on the drive, which we'll do in a couple of seconds. So what's everyone's thoughts? You've seen a good bit around the car now. Leave us a comment on what do you think on the interior. Do you like the physical buttons remaining? What about the screen? Is it big, too small? Obviously shortcuts to all the different maps and menu settings also on this. So very, very user-friendly interior. Seats are comfortable. I'd love to try out leather ones just to see, but certainly the bits of leather and plastics that are used, very, very good premium quality feel off them. There is ways to support this fully independent channel, by the way. You can leave us a tip on PayPal, you can Patreon us, a cup of coffee a month type price. You can like, you can share the video, all very appreciative. And also in the description part of the video, you can buy chili bottles and things like that to help support the channel also. And thank you to those of you that do tip, do sign up on Patreon. Massively appreciated. Thank you for all the support. This is the first time I've been able to get behind the wheel of the Qashqai on camera and talk about it. So it's very similar in performance to the previous generation 1.3 petrol, and that's the version of the car that I have at home in my house. As you can hear in it, the indicator, well, you'll never make a mistake that you haven't got it turned on because it is quite loud. The difference between this and the previous version, it's just that little bit more refined. The power delivery is just that little bit better, and the gearbox is just a little bit smoother. They've made enough of tweaks to notice them. Like I drove our own car yesterday and the difference was noticeable straight away. Just little things, and the bite point on the clutch. Now obviously this is a brand new car versus our own one, but our own one only has 15,000 kilometers on it, so it was just interesting to go back to back from the last generation Qashqai into this one. It feels like it's a bit more insulated from the outside world as well. Cars whizzing past you in Monday morning traffic don't seem to make as much of an impact as you drive by. Tire noise, again, it's going to depend on different tire models that you have in the car, but this is quite acceptable at 80 kilometers per hour. It's not that intrusive into the cabin. There's also enough torque in even 6th gear to overtake without you needing to change gear in this 1.3 petrol. So to say I've been impressed by the driving dynamics of it really is an understatement. One thing it's still not great at is going around corners, but I'll let it away with that. It's just a very easy car to live with. It's comfortable. It's more refined than ever. There's very little I can find fault with. I wish the air vents were a bit more directed towards the driver. They're a little bit low down and they make way for this massive big tablet style screen. If you have never had some of the driver aids that now come as standard on the car, they're also going to be very impressive when you first sit in, because things like rear cross traffic monitoring really is worth its weight in gold. It will detect a pedestrian or car or kid on a bike either side of you, left and right, if you're reversing out of a driveway, for example. That acceleration, I mean, you do have to rev it to really get the most out of it, but it's actually, you know, it has more than enough power in this 1.3. I didn't really find the 1.3 in the last model that sluggish either. Heading onto a motorway here now, the radar guided cruise control makes the job that little bit easier as well. So if you can stump to the SV premium version, it really is the sweet spot. Yes, things like leather seats and 20 or 21 inch alloy wheels would be nice, but they're really not necessary. The odd time, if you're in slower moving traffic and you're pulling away in 1st gear, sometimes, I don't know if it's me misbalancing the revs versus the clutch, but there can be a proper flat spot pulling away for like a second where you're like, come on. I possibly have noticed it in the previous version as well. It seems to be overcome by just giving it enough power on the accelerator, but it can catch you off if you're just waiting on a junction to pull out or something, and you're wondering for a second, is the car? And then it kicks in. It could be just this car, it could be a software thing. Something I noticed, we'll say several times during the week of me driving the new Qashqai in that kind of environment, pulling out of a junction, away from a set of traffic lights, things like that. It's just, I caught it like a slight hesitation. So overall, a truly better driving experience over the previous model. And, you know, that did the job pretty well too. Just look at how many of them you see on the roads. But if I was using this as a daily motorway cruiser, I think it would actually be really well up to the job and actually very, very comfortable. You've done a fantastic job in the driving aspects of the new Qashqai. So the Nissan Qashqai is back, and boy is it good. It has gotten more expensive, like pretty much every car on the market in Ireland since the last budget. And there's no doubt that the Hyundai Tucson still puts it right up to it. That model, of course, out towards the end of last year. And it is probably a bit flasher. But if you're getting into the decent spec hybrid versions of that car and petrol, the real premium versions, you're getting into the early 40s. You'll just tuck under it in the Qashqai, but probably not as flash. Previous Qashqai owners, you're going to absolutely love this. It's a cracker of a car, and I reckon this is going to rise back up to the top selling crossover and fight it out between it and the Tucson all over again. Thank you very much for watching.